Good evening, vinyl community. It's Rob here. Yes, I'm here to help celebrate Richard McCooks' amazing 500 subscribers he's reached. Well, surpassed 500, sorry, dare I say. Yeah, he's done amazingly well, but richly deserve. Richard, you fantastic VCer, a real stalwart of the community. Your ratings and singles videos are legendary. I can't think of anybody else in the world actually who could probably come close to you with that. Maybe John Peel would have had a fair crack at that. But no, amazing achievement, and he's a lovely, lovely guy from Northern Ireland. And he's been very, very supportive of my channel since I started in January. And I'm always delighted to do a response video to Richard. You know that, Richard, don't you? It doesn't matter that it's a competition. The 30 quid, whatever. If I was lucky enough to win, which I think is highly unlikely, I'd give it to charity, to be honest. But it's a marvelous milestone, and quite rightly, 500, because it's amazing. That's a good 3 times what I've got, and but you've been doing it a lot longer than me, and understandable. But the quality of Richard's videos are superb. He puts a lot of work into his researches the artists really, really well, and they're a delight. And every time he uploads, I think I've got to watch it. Because you're always going to learn something, and he puts a few ironic little things in as well. So there's always a little bit of a laugh there too. So yeah, but yeah, he's inventive as well and very creative with his with his ideas for videos, unlike me, who just follows the sheep because I'm not particularly creative. So but I'm delighted to help celebrate it, and also to contribute, of course. So cheers, Richard. God bless you and all those who sail in you. 500. I'm sure you'll be there at 1,000 before we know. God bless you, mate. So, cheers, everybody. He has set an amazing task for us, which is to create a 6-track sampler album from official studio album tracks by one of your artists, a favorite artist, I would imagine that would be. But it can't include tracks that were released as 7-inch A-side singles, 45s in the country you currently live. Well, I've never lived anywhere else other than the UK, so I guess that has to be here. So, I mean, the artists that I've picked, it was tricky, because I love their singles, particularly their early singles. So that presented a challenge straight away. But I like a challenge. Nothing wrong with a challenge whatsoever. It's great to be pushed, pressed hard, and absolutely. So anyway, who is it? What is the band that I'm talking about? Well, it's not the Bangles. Sorry, Richard. It's not the Bangles. It is Jethro Tull. Yes, that is the group that I've decided to create my 6-track sampler for. Okay. So Jethro Tull, yeah, I mean, obviously everybody knows Jethro Tull, or imagine a majority of you out there do. Fantastic, iconic folk rock progressive band from the UK, headed by the wonderful, multi-talented Mr. Ian Anderson, who was born in Blackpool here in the UK. And they started in 1968. And he's obviously he fronted the band, and they've continued pretty much to the present day in many different variants and forms. And he's hired and fired people, and he's notorious for it along through the years. You can just have a look at the family tree there from when their creation in 1968 all the way through to 1988, which this compilation 20 years of Jethro Tull goes up to. Okay, but I'm not going to that isn't the era, well, certainly the later era of Jethro Tull. I'm not going to include, because they have a huge career. I'm not familiar with their later career, to be honest with you. For me, their best material is probably 1968 to 1980, which is the albums that I have that make up my collection. And then I thought, well, I've only got 6 tracks to play with, so how am I going to kind of break that down? So I figured that I would bookend it by saying, well, I'm not going to include this album, which is their debut album, which is This Was. The reason I'm not including this is because this is very much when they were a blues, or very kind of blues orientated outfit. And their guitarist Mick Abrahams decided that that wasn't the direction that he wanted to go in terms of because Ian Anderson didn't want to continue the band as a blues band. He wanted to be far more expansive and experimental than that, and Mick Abrahams didn't want to do that, so he left the band. He was obviously their principal guitarist. So enter Martin Barr in 1969. So this will be basically tracks picked from their second, third, and fourth albums, respectively, on the Chrysalis label. Okay, so we have their second album from 1969, which is Stand Up. I've got to do this because I just love this. This is an original UK pressing. Stand Up, I just love that. It was just the ridiculous, almost like Monty Python kind of humour of Ian Anderson is just wonderful. I love that. That's fabulous. So anyway, but yeah, that's their second album, which will make up tracks from the sampler. And their second album from 1970, which is Benefit. And then, their third album from 1970, which is Benefit. And then their fourth album from 1971, which of course was their breakthrough in the US, which is probably when you guys in the US got into Tull, is of course the mighty classic Aqualung. Okay, so there we go. So, I'm a record executive, A&R person, whatever, from Chrysalis Records, and I'm looking to promote Jethro Tull just after the release on the 19th of March 1971 of Aqualung, their fourth studio album. Looking to promote them not just in the UK and Europe, but obviously the wider world, obviously, and including and encompassing the United States as well. So, okay, where do we start? Okay, so I thought the first track would be the track Nothing Is Easy, which is off their second album, Stand Up. I mean, this is fantastic because this is a sort of fairly aggressive, a sort of, very sort of upbeat song. You've got Anderson's flute well up front in the mix there. And it's very in your face and a perfect way to start off the sampler. So yeah, that's the first track, Nothing Is Easy from Stand Up. The second track I'm going to pick is one of my favourite Jethro Tull songs, full stop, and a wonderful example of Ian Anderson's acoustic ability is Mother Goose, which is off their fourth album Aqualung. This is just wonderful song. Obviously you've got that lovely flute motif going through it, and it's it sort of describes the sort of Aqualung character, and he's watching the young girls and this kind of thing, and it's sort of upbeat and catchy, but the lyrics are kind of very sinister, which is a kind of, it's juxtaposed and it's weird. It's like a lot of sort of Jethro Tull stuff is like that, it's very upbeat and in your face, but there's a sort of darker tone quite often with the lyrics underneath, which I really like. I like that kind of tension between the two. So, but that's a great example of a sort of an acoustic side of Jethro Tull, which I thought would be good to promote. So track number 3. So the last track on the first side, which is the opening song on this album, which is Benefit, their third album, and this is With You There to Help Me. And it's got this wonderful kind of, it's just an epic song. And I always think a song to end a side is good when it's kind of epic in its sound. You've got a lot of sort of echoey sort of flute there, and you've got the sort of Martin Barr's sort of big chords and riffs coming in the background, very kind of in your face, and stuff, and but a great song, and it's about 6.5 minutes, so that's a good length of song to sort of take you to the end of the first side. So yeah. Okay, so we're now on to side 2 in this 10-inch extravaganza sampler record. Okay, thought I would start with another song from Benefit, which is the first track on side 2, which is To Cry You a Song. This is another 6-minute song, so a lot of arrangements there. You've got to fade in with that sort of double guitar, harmonized guitar that the sort of Wishbone Ash used to do, or reminiscent of Wishbone Ash. So it's got that kind of proggy kind of feel. Again, I think kind of sort of hitting the zeitgeist of certainly what was happening in sort of 1970, 71, that kind of burgeoning, sort of prog rock. It was really coming into the era of that kind of music. And I think that song kind of exemplifies that in feel. So I think that, that needed to be included on that. Yeah, wonderful guitar in there from Martin Barr. Okay, and then track 2, we go back to the second album, Stand Up, and that's the song Bore. Okay, now before you say anything, Richard, because I know that you're going to be checking to make sure that nobody's cheating here in terms of singles in their country. According to Wikipedia, Bure was actually released as a single with the B-side of Fat Man, which is also on this record. But that was actually released in Europe and not the UK. So yes, that can, I hope, be included, and isn't going to be going against your rules there. So, but yeah, Bore, it's a rework of a Bach piece, Bore in E, I believe it's called. And it's got a very kind of, Tull have sort of brought it up to date with a very sort of jazzy kind of rhythm. But it highlights his flute playing very, very well. And it's very catchy, because obviously it's based on a classical piece. It sort of brings the tone down for the midway of, the second side quite well, I think. That's my second track on side 2, Bore, from the Stand Up album. Okay. And then to finish it off, it just had to be, didn't it, really, in a way. It's the opening track to their classic 4th album, Aqualung, and it's the track Aqualung itself, which the lyrics were written with his then wife, Jenny. So it's a 6.5 minute piece, epic in proportion, just, it's a wonderfully sprawling song. Properly sets the scene for the album, with this down and out character and the sort of people living on the streets and so on, and that kind of end of the hippie era, I guess, and the sort of depressing thing that was sort of economically, politically, that kind of resonated at the beginning of the 70s. And I think, the lyrics in that song are very, very sadly poignant of that, but beautifully put across, and very eloquent in the lyrics. And the music obviously speaks for itself as well. So yeah, fabulous. So that's the title track of their 4th album, Aqualung, to finish off the sampler. So that's the 6 tracks. So yeah, I'm all done here. That was rambling, as is usual for my as is my want that I do. Richard, once again, thank you so much for putting this together. Fantastic idea for a video. It would have been anyway, but even on its own, but even better that it's celebrating and marking the occasion of your 500 subscriptions, which is just fabulous. So all the very best with that. Good luck with everybody else who's entering into the competition as well. And I'll be back with another video, I guess, fairly soon. So cheers, guys. All the best. Hope you're keeping well. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.